We are discussing about FET based oscillators. So the next one is the LC oscillators using FET. So here everything remains the same, but the only change is we will be replacing the BJT by the FET. So but still we'll have a look on it. So derivation everything will remain same because the derivation is with respect to the feedback network. Here the feedback network whatever we have taken, the feedback network remains the same. So that's why even the frequency of oscillation formula also remains the same for PT also. The same formula which is used for the BJT based oscillators will holds good for FET based oscillators. Here in FET based oscillators, we can take a normal fixed bias or voltage divider bias. Anything is anything can be used. So let us take a different one. So we will take normal uh, fixed bias FET and we'll try to examine. So this is what already we have for our FET VDD, and this is the output, and here you'll have some capacitor. This is the basic fixed bias circuit for using FET. So here we have used RFC. You can use RFC or you can just use RD also. Anything is fine. Some books they prefer to have RFC. Some will have RD. Both are correct. So here RFC is used because basically when we talk with respect to the FET is they are low gain amplifiers. So when you compare low gain in the sense when you compare the gain of the FET with respect to the gain of BJT, BJT is having more gain and FET is having a lesser gain. But mainly because of the uh, immune characteristics, what FET is having, so it is immune to the any noise and all. So we will be going to FETs because BJT is very easy to get added with noise and all. But FET is quite difficult to get added with noise. So that's why we go for FET. And the size complexity is more, or size problem is more in the BJT. But when it comes to FET, the size is quite reduced compared to BJT because of some kind of this kind of reasons we go for FET rather than BJT. So, but still again, why we use this RFC, radio frequency choke or radio frequency coil? In both the names, it is called. So, why we are going to use this RFC is, as already you know that the gain is less. The gain produced by this kind of amplifier using FET is already less. So, already we are using FET and its gain is less. So, when the gain is less, so what we have to do is we have to preserve the gain what is achieved. That means we have to maintain the gain which is achieved, and we should not allow any of the characteristics or any of the noise which arises in the network to reduce this gain. So to have a constant gain, so what we use is radio frequency coil. See why this radio frequency coil is used is here one thing is we are expecting a uh, sine wave. I mean we are expecting some AC signal at the output because we are talking about oscillators. So here again the same problem. There is a mixture. There can be a mixture of VDD to this output which is given out. Suppose yeah, as of now I'm using this as an amplifier, but when I connect with the feedback network, it becomes an oscillator. No? So during that time, the VDD can mix up with the output. Actually, output I'm expecting a pure sine wave, so which is having some particular frequency based upon the feedback network what I have design. So now let us take the feedback network. So this is the feedback network what I have given. So by this time we would have got an idea on which what kind of oscillators I am talking about. I am talking about Colpitt's oscillator. So it is called Colpitt's oscillator because it is having two capacitor and one inductor. So now frequency will be tuned by using this LNC component, but in order to avoid this mixture of the DC signal with respect to this output, you will be using this RFC, which because always RFC isolates DC from AC. So whatever we are getting at the output, we should get a pure AC signal. So in order to isolate that, we are going to use this RFC. Okay, because you have seen the behavior of the inductor with respect to the frequency. So by having proper value of RFC, we can try to avoid the noise as well. Noise means unwanted signal. Even ADC signal is unwanted when we compare with the output. The rest of the things is same. So here also it is, you can see it is in common source configuration. Common source configuration is similar to common emitter configuration which we were talking in BJT. So in common source configuration also it will be having 180-degree phase difference. This creates 180-degree phase difference and this creates 180-degree phase difference. Overall, this is going to give you 360-degree phase shift or 0-degree phase difference. Here, instead of fixed bias, you can use voltage divider bias also if you feel that you'll be getting confused. So no problem, you can use that also R1, R2. You can use this as RFC or I had told we can use directly RD. When you connect it as RD, then you should draw resistance. When you are taking it as RFC, then you show it as inductor. Okay, so and here you'll be adding one resistor and one capacitor will be there, and this becomes RS. So like this, you can use any kind of biasing circuit. So since tuning FET is quite easy compared to uh, the BJT, we can go for a normal fixed bias only. So this is with respect to the FET Colpitt's oscillator. So similar to this, we have FET based Hartley oscillator. So in a Hartley oscillator, the only change is instead of these two capacitors, you'll have two inductors and one capacitor you'll be having. Okay. Sometimes they can ask you with op amp based oscillators or op amp based they can ask you Colpitt's oscillator. So nothing you have to change. Use an op amp, and here the op amp what you will be using is inverting op amp. You will be using inverting op amp. So first write down the inverting op amp. So why we are using inverting op amp? Can anyone tell me? What is the reason behind using inverting op amp? We would have used non-inverting op amp.
To produce 180-degree phase shift.
Yes, because already we have a feedback network which is going to produce 180-degree phase shift, and you know that creating the feedback or having a feedback is not only to get 180-degree phase difference, also to tune to particular frequency. So if you're trying to tune it for if you're trying for a particular just for the sake of feedback, just for the sake of phase difference to create a 180-degree phase difference, we would have avoided this, and we would have taken non-inverting op amp here, and we would have avoided that. So we'll be able to achieve 0-degree, right? So there is no phase difference, phase change here also, and there is no phase change here because we have just directly short circuited. but our oscillator frequency is dependent upon the tank circuit. This is the tank circuit what we are discussing about. So obviously we cannot avoid this. So that's why when you use this, automatically it produces phase difference or phase change in phase because of its characteristics, because of the charging and discharging characteristics. So that's why to have extra 180-degree phase difference, we'll be using inverting op amp. So this is op amp based Colpitts oscillator. By any reason, if they are asking this kind of question, you can just write an inverting op amp and just explain. Explanation remains the same, but you have to keep on writing with respect to the circuits. Whatever you have used, that you have to write. So after this, the next one, the last topic in the oscillator last topic is with respect to the crystal oscillator. Crystal oscillator. So this crystal oscillator is mainly used, and this is widely used oscillator in many of the especially with respect to the microcontrollers, processors, everywhere, we'll be using this crystal oscillator because we know that we have to generate the clock signal. To generate the clock signal, we'll be using the crystal oscillator. You might have already come across a crystal frequency of Delbit telling. So that is crystal frequency is this crystal oscillator they'll be using. So why they are going for the crystal oscillator is it is very easy to tune. At the same time, the complexity of the circuit is lesser. And already you have seen, you have done this in lab. So no need of much tuning work is required for this. So for a particular crystal, you'll be getting particular frequency. So no need of much tuning, only a part you have to vary. But when you take our tank circuit, the crystal oscillator is not a kind of tank circuit. Tank circuit means these are all the circuits which are these are all the oscillators which has L and C component, or the circuits which have L and C component, inductor and capacitive component. They are known as tank circuits. Okay, if they are using RC component in the feedback network, then they comes under the category of RC, the phase shift, only phase shift oscillators or RC oscillators. This is crystal oscillator where we'll be using the crystal. Before going on to the actual crystal oscillator working, so we have to first discuss some of the basic things about the crystal. So why the crystal oscillator has become that much famous or that much highly used, one of the highly used oscillator is because of its because of its availability in the nature. The crystal is a naturally occurring, and also we can synthetically manufacture, and it is going to exhibit effect called piezoelectric effect. So it is going to exhibit piezoelectric effect. So this piezoelectric effect is because of the uh, because the crystal is exhibiting this piezoelectric effect, we are able to utilize properly in our oscillators to create oscillations. So piezoelectric effect tells that whenever a mechanical stress is applied over a crystal, then it is going to start giving electrical signals. Or whenever an electrical signal is given to the crystal, then it starts vibrating. Because of that vibration, it creates oscillation. You can see it is a vice versa. The vibration means it is an mechanical phenomenon. Electrical signal means it's an electronic phenomenon. So it's vice versa. If you give an electrical signal, it gives mechanical vibration. If you give a mechanical stress, it gives you electrical signal. Both ways it is possible. So whatever the way it is possible in our application, we can try to use it. So because of this piezoelectric effect of this crystal, we are able to use it in our oscillators. So this piezoelectric effect, as I told, it is easily available in the nature. Also, we can use, we can synthetically manufacture it. So widely the available, some of the crystal substances are the quartz, and we have rock chili salt and tourmaline. So these are the three kinds of crystal substances, or the substances which exhibits the piezoelectric effect are available in the nature. But among this, the quartz is widely used compared to these two. It's rarely used. Why? Because this raw chili salt, whatever we are speaking about, it has more vibration. It is also more efficient compared to quartz. It is more efficient, but it is very delicate. It is more vibration, more efficient, but delicate. It is very. We have to handle it very carefully. It is very delicate. The hardness is very less. But when it comes to tourmaline, no, it is too hard. It is very, very hard. I was telling here it is very delicate because hardness is less. But at the same time, we should not have too much hardness. Okay, it is very much hard such that it is very difficult to get a proper vibration or proper electrical signal by tourmaline. So that's why we try to avoid using these two. But when we compare the quartz with these two, it is inexpensive. Compared to this one, it's inexpensive. And it is easily available. Quartz is easily available in the nature. So that's why in many of the cases we go for quartz crystal. So we very rarely will use these two. So wherever we are able to handle the instruments very carefully, then we can go for raw chili salt. And wherever we need a very hard crystal, then we go for tourmaline. The crystal is the general name. Among this, these three are the substances of the crystal. So finally, will be going with quartz crystal. So now, after this, we have to study how actually this quartz crystal looks like. The quartz crystal usually it will be like this. The symbol is also like this only. So we call these two things, the plates, whatever you are observing here and here, no, these two are known as holding plates. Holding plates. This one is crystal slab. So these two are holding plates, and it's a crystal slab we are having. So this is how actually the crystal looks like. So in the center we'll be having crystal, and on the either side we'll be having the plates, steel plates. Yeah, we haven't seen in the lab. You'll see with a steel cap. Inside that crystal will be there. So whatever you are seeing now, that is the steel plates or holding plates. What we are talking about here, we have shown it only on one side, but it will be covered in all the sides. So after this, the next one is the electrical equivalent circuit of crystal. Equivalent circuit. So it's what is the equivalent circuit of the crystal? So the equivalent circuit of the crystal is the combination of RLC components: resistor, inductor, capacitor. So it is a combination of all these three things. RLC. You might think, what is this CM we are getting here? The CM is known as the mounting capacitance. So what is this mounting capacitance? The mounting capacitance is the capacitance which is built because of this holding plates. So we have these two plates, no? How they look like? If I remove this crystal, they'll be looking like this. So how they look like? Parallel plate capacitors. So even that they exhibit some capacitive effect or capacitive behavior. The steel plates they exhibit capacitive behavior. That's why we are going to consider how it is. It is parallel. So it is connected parallel to RLC. What is this RLC? It is the equivalent circuit for the crystal. This is for the crystal. This is the equivalent circuit. For this one, this is the equivalent circuit. For this entire thing, this is the this entire thing is our equivalent circuit. For this entire thing, this is the equivalent circuit. For crystal, RLC is the equivalent circuit. For the capacitance to the holding plates, CM is the molding capacitance. Okay. So now in this case, in the mounting capacitance, this crystal will act like a dielectric medium for this mounting capacitance. Okay. This is some of the basic things. Along with this, sometimes they'll ask you discuss the characteristics of quartz crystal. This is one of the question they'll be asking. It's very simple. So it is with respect to the resonant conditions, whatever you have already studied. Resonant conditions. So you have two resonant conditions under this. One thing is with respect to one is with respect to series, another one is with respect to parallel. So among this, one of the resonant condition occurs when the reactance of the series RLC are equal. Reactance of series RLC are equal. So that means XL is equal to XC. So it is nothing but the series RLC, reactance of series RLC are equal. Under the resonant condition in minimum under minimum resistance value condition. Here we have taken XL and XC only because we consider R is minimum. Resistance is minimum. So under this condition, we get the frequency of oscillation as Fs is equal to 1 divided by 2 pi into root LC. Formula is same again. Okay, under series RLC or when under series resonance, XL will be equal to XC, considering R is minimum. Next condition is reactance of the series resonant equal to the reactance of CM. That means XL plus XC is equal to XM. Reactance of series resonance is equal to the mounting capacitance. So this condition is usually called as parallel resonance. When series RLC is equal to the mounting reactance of the mounting capacitance, then such condition is known as parallel resonance. When XL is equal to XC, then such condition is known as series resonance. Okay, when XL is equal to XC, series resonance. When XL plus XC is equal to XM, parallel resonance. These are the two resonance conditions. After this, we have to plot the variation with respect to the impedance and the frequency. You can observe one thing. The FP, the frequency with respect to the parallel resonance is greater than frequency with respect to series resonance. Frequency of the parallel resonance will be equal to, it will be greater than series resonance frequency. So let us plot the graph. Z, F. This is Fs. This is our Fp. And we'll plot one more graph. It is V naught versus F. So this shows that when it is with respect to the impedance, with respect to impedance and frequency of parallel resonance is greater. Frequency of series resonance is lesser. But when you compare it with respect to the output, when you plot a graph of output with respect to the output voltage with respect to the frequency, during that time you can observe that series resonant frequency is more under maximum output, and parallel resonance, under parallel resonance the frequency is less for when you compare it with respect to the voltage. When you compare with the voltage, Fs is greater, Fp is smaller. When you compare with the impedance, Fs is smaller, Fp is greater. So if they are asking you explain the characteristics of quartz crystal, then you have to explain these three things. So XL is equal to XC, XL plus XC is equal to XM. See, this is just to remember you have written in terms of formula. You can write the formula, but along with that you have to explain in terms of words. Okay. After this, now we will move on to the crystal oscillators. Crystal oscillator circuits we can discuss. So in this crystal oscillator circuits, we'll have two things. One is series resonant crystal oscillator, and other one is parallel resonant crystal oscillator. So in the lab, whatever we have done, no, that is the series resonant crystal oscillator we have done in the lab, but we generally tell it is a crystal oscillator. And yeah, I just forgot to tell the formula for Fp. For Fp also, it is 1 divided by 2 pi root L C equivalent. Okay, but here in this case, since we are considering the mounting capacitance value also, so C equivalent will be considered Cm into C divided by Cm plus C. So even the mounting capacitance value will be considered. So that's why we are going to take 2 pi LC equivalent. But series resonant crystal oscillator, there the formula is F is equal to 1 by 2 pi root LC. There is no derivation, just remember the formula. In exam, till now whatever we have seen, when I compare with the analog electronics question paper, because these are all the parts of these are all the syllabus of analog electronics. So they have asked, usually they'll ask in the oscillator, they'll ask explain the Wien bridge oscillator or the Hartley-Colpitts oscillator and derive the expression for the frequency of oscillation. And they'll majority of the cases, they'll give a problem on crystal oscillator. because when they ask with respect to the characteristics, you have lot you can explain something. But when it comes to oscillator part, there is nothing to explain here because you just and the feedback path you are just going to insert one crystal that finishes of the feedback path. At least there you'll be having will be you can explain how the oscillations are produced or how phase shift is produced, all those things. But here you will just tell a crystal is given as a feedback, and based upon the value of the crystal, that frequency is being produced. So that's why they'll be asking problem on this. They'll ask find this series resonant frequency and parallel resonant frequency. But many of the cases, students will get confused with the formula. FP parallel resonant, it is LC equivalent. Series resonant, it is only LC. So once I'm done with the uh, syllabus, I'll start with some problem solving daily. So this is the crystal oscillator with respect where we have two types. In the next class, we'll discuss about the two different types of crystal